do you get when you mix high-stakes tension, jaw-dropping twists, and performances that keep you on the edge of your seat? Get ready for Drop, the electrifying new thriller that's about to redefine suspense. Please welcome actors Meghann Fahy, Brendan Sklenar, and director Christopher Landon to the South by Southwest studio.
Thank you.
Did I get that correct? Sklenar.
Sklenar.
God,
I gotta put an accent over the A, I think.
no, I needed an accent. I was
going
gonna ask
European
before.
or something.
No, Sklenar is good.
Yeah.
Do you know
I'll
who
just
taught me how to
ADR this
say your
in.
name? Gail King.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Gail.
Yeah,
That's
she saved the day for
Yeah,
me.
that's
'Cause I had no
Sklenar.
idea.
Sklenar.
I'm
yeah.
just gonna
Gail.
ADR this in.
I know.
Sklenar.
There you go.
Yeah.
No,
Check.
names are
Check.
important.
Yeah.
But yeah, I watched the movie 2 days ago. I really loved it. And I kind of wanted to start with you and just talk about how sincere it is. I like that the humor in it doesn't undercut the tension at all. Like, it genuinely, I buy into the stakes and everything like that. And as someone who is so like familiar with horror comedy, I was kind of just curious how you go about writing that.
I mean, I think in a case like this where you're dealing with a plot that is meant to be really grounded and like you said, to sort of maintain the real stakes, I wanted the humor in the movie to be sort of like a release valve, because there is so much maintained tension in the film that I think the audience almost needs a little bit of a break from it. So, and obviously, you know, Jeffrey Self, who plays Matt in the movie, is almost that valve for the audience. But I think it does. I think it kind of helps punctuate things. And I always I try to use humor in everything that I do. I don't like movies that take themselves too seriously.
No, Happy Death Day, perfect example of one that I remember seeing that for the first time and being so floored. So I was really excited for this one.
Cool,
I was kind of curious what your guys' introduction to Christopher was.
I mean, I've seen his films for sure. Actually, right before this came along, I just watched Freaky. Just you know, on my own accord. I love horror movies and of all kinds and thrillers, and I love campy stuff, and I love really intense, crazy shit. And I've always loved Chris's movies because he really is the best at striking that balance between self-awareness and entertainment, and still somehow manages to be poignant and very specific. And it's just a good time. You know, you walk away from all those films, like, you don't feel like you wasted time watching it. You don't, you know, you feel like you're uplifted, and you went on a journey, and you got some excitement, you got some suspense, you know. And all his characters are relatable, which is wonderful. Yeah,
That's real
so
nice,
it's
baby.
really, yeah.
That's great. No, but that I was
Yeah.
gonna say Vince Vaughn. I still argue should have got some sort of
it's
supporting
so
nomination.
funny,
for
man.
that.
It's ridiculous.
No, it's a genuinely
him in the back of that
legitimately great-
car.
It's a
Yeah.
great
like
performance.
like with the kiss thing.
It's
It's just
so
like
good.
it's so damn good.
But again,
Yeah.
what makes that stuff work so well, and again, it plays even to this movie, is that like it's Vince played that role straight.
So
Yeah.
And
never
that's the
winks at
best
the
kind of
camera.
comedy.
Yeah.
And that's the best kind of comedy
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's like he was a teenage girl in the back of that car with his crush.
Yeah.
And that's what makes the
just
scene
like-
work, because you
Yeah.
just have this gigantic man, you know.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Yeah. Meghann, how about yourself? What was your introduction to Christopher, and also just horror in general?
Well, sort of similar to Brandon, actually, and then obviously Happy Death Day, which, you know, not to repeat what Brandon said, but I do agree with, you know, Chris striking that balance, and our film certainly depended on that. So I felt very excited about being in his hands before we started this film, which was at times very challenging to shoot because it's, you know, a very high level of stress and energy, but sort of simmering and kind of hidden, but still there. So, yeah, he just was such a great leader of that, and like really took care of me throughout that whole emotional process. So, very grateful.
Gotcha. I was curious about that as an actor, because the entire movie is basically it follows one of my favorite plot formulas, which is guy has bad day, and in your case it's you having bad day, which is like genuinely like After Hours, The Thing.
Yeah.
I love, and I'm curious because it just seems so stressful for the performer that you have to just maintain that, and especially in this role where you're trying to hide that, kind of how you keep track of where you are, because I'm assuming you're not filming in order.
We actually had sort of the luxury of shooting a lot of it in order, because it
really?
was one location and it was a set. So some of it was like we shot the end first because that was a house and stuff
Anything
like that. But
outside of the restaurant we
Once
shot
were in
out
the
of
restaurant,
order.
yeah, which was really helpful. But also, it was my favorite. It was my first time filming something in the genre, so I didn't really know what to expect beforehand. And again, that was another thing that Chris really helped. He was so good at explaining the particular level that we needed to have, because he just had such a clear vision of what we needed and what he wanted it to be, and that was just so incredibly useful to me.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I feel like South by is one of the festivals that, like, obviously lovers of cinema come, but so many people that want to be actors or want to be filmmakers come to and get to watch things. And I was curious, as you guys are all professionals sitting here, what are some, like, I guess, good notes you've received from directors? Some, like, even notes that maybe you wouldn't recommend, and vice versa. What are some notes that you've given that you're proud of? And some that you're like, maybe in retrospect, I should have held back on that one.
That's an interesting question. I mean, I think one of the notes that I got a long time ago, and it's something that I also now sort of repeat regularly, is about being able to absorb criticism, in a healthy way, and allow that to sort of free you to make the changes that you might need to make. I think a lot of directors specifically sometimes get this idea in their head that, like, they are in charge, and of course they are, and that their way is the right way, but, like, you have to be more open and receptive to change and to other ideas, and and even someone saying, hey, like, maybe you're doing that wrong.
Gotcha.
Maybe you should try this instead. I think it's about removing the ego from the process as much as possible. I think the more you can do that and the more open you are, I think the better things are.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good answer. I like
too.
that. Yeah.
That's what I got.
Yeah.
I think, I can't think of anything specific necessarily, but I think ultimately just trusting yourself, as a performer. Just trusting yourself and what you bring, and then over time just slowly bringing as much of yourself as you can to everything you do. And I think there's this, as a young, I think every young actor wants to be Daniel Day-Lewis or Meryl Streep, and they want to prove how much they can do things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then oftentimes it, like, takes you further from yourself and your truth. So I think it's just a sort of over time, through many experiences and many directors, just sort of whittling that down and boiling it to, like, the core of whatever it is, and then whatever you need to layer on top of that, you do. But I think that's kind of the biggest thing I
Trusting yourself.
learned over the years.
Yeah.
Accepting yourself and trusting yourself, and trust yourself, you have to accept yourself, and that's a whole thing. But yeah, it's a big part of it.
Somebody told me when I was like 18 or 19, I first started acting. It seems so silly, but tell the truth. And I think that the way I processed that was sort of like, I think especially when you're younger, you do put a lot of pressure on yourself to, like, tap into a specific emotion. Like, if you're, like, really wanting to cry or something, but it's not coming naturally and it's really forced, it's like, well, what about you don't cry because that doesn't feel like the truth right now? Do something else that feels like the truth to you. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that doesn't feel accessible. So I think about that sometimes.
That's a good one.
Yeah. But I've had all kinds of stuff, like, people, like, do something different with your face, like.
Great note.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah.
It kind of is. I love very straightforward, sort of to the point
Same.
notes. I don't like a lot of, like,
slow
coddling
down.
to be happening.
Gotcha.
Be a little softer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just technical stuff.
10% less.
Yeah, 10%.
I like that. A percentage.
Specificity is good.
Yeah.
The next thing I wanted to ask, I wrote these down because when I was watching, I was like, you're going to leave at some point. You have to. Throughout the night, you spill an entire glass of wine on him. You trauma dump. You cry several times. You move tables twice. And you text the entire night. I was kind of curious what it would take for you to actually leave a date. If any of these things would immediately be like, okay, I'm getting up and going.
Yeah, I mean, the texting I'd be out.
Yeah, that would
You
be
do
tough
such
for
a
me
great
too.
job of,
I'd be out for sure. Moving tables, I could do that.
Yeah.
Going to the bathroom, that's fine. But if you're out there for a long time, I'm like, oh, what's going on here? But it's the texting, that would do it for me. Yeah.
You start poisoning waiters and
that's
fun.
Yeah.
How about y'all?
I mean, I have kids, so I think about the texting thing because I've never had to date within the context of being a parent,
Gotcha.
which I think is actually a different thing. So like if you are dealing with like for example, a new babysitter that has a lot of fucking questions, you're probably having to do some texting.
Yeah.
You know, so I think there's got to be a little grace there
was gonna
if
say, I
you're a
felt
single
for her
parent.
there,
yeah.
yeah.
But obviously the degree is what ultimately matters, you know, and you need to eventually put your phone away. But I mean, yeah, I mean, she's definitely doing some strange stuff on that date.
He's a patient man.
Yes.
He
A
is.
very patient
Very
man.
patient.
He's
man.
an intuitive man.
Yeah.
That's what I like to say.
Yeah.
He knows something's up, and he's
Yeah.
known from the beginning, I think. So.
And
anyways.
he's into her. You know, he
And
likes
he's
her.
into her.
He's like, all right.
She's pretty hot.
Yeah. Well, I think there's something about her that he genuinely loves and can see himself with. So he's trying to. All right.
Oh, I forgot to add one. And you lied about a watch. That's
Oh,
6
yeah.
really, yeah.
Yeah.
So is there
And when
any,
you
that
list them
one.
out like that, you're like, damn. This
I
is
was like,
quite-
on paper,
yeah,
she's
it's
terrible.
quite a bit.
pretty bad.
Yeah.
is there anything that would, from the get-go, if someone does, you would leave the table?
Well, we both said this the other day, but if someone's rude to
Wait staff?
wait
Yes.
staff,
Anybody.
no.
you're
Out.
done.
Yeah.
That's
like
out.
forever. I hate that so much.
Chewing with your mouth full, like really
Oh.
like bad, but like bad.
Oh, I'm
Like,
bad
I
with-
could do a little, but if it's
I'm
like
bad with mouth
like
noises.
stuff's coming
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, I'm really bad with mouth noises.
Are you bad? You make mouth noises?
No.
Or you're bad,
like-
oh, you're bad
no,
receiving them.
I'm bad like if someone like I can't eat with them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
And
gross.
I'm just like I'm like.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, like
Manners.
yeah, or just speaking with a bunch of food in your mouth. I just
Yeah.
yeah.
Gotcha. But taking down murderers from the inside, fine. We'll allow it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
mean,
great.
yeah, just the noises. Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Well, be sure to watch Drop. It rocks. That's my seal of approval. You could quote me on that. Put that on the poster.
Right
it
on.
rocks.
It
dash
rocks.
Reece.
That's huge coming from you.
Yeah.
That's a slam and review.
Thanks. Put it. That's my goal in life. Get something on a poster. It rocks.
It rocks.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. for
Thank you
stopping
so
by.
much. I
Thank you guys
appreciate
for
it.
watching.
Thanks. Sweet.
Cool.